Okay, so welcome to this yin class. And this time of year, late summer, is the time of the stomach and spleen meridians. So this class is going to be based on the stomach and spleen meridians. And I'll talk a little bit as we go through about where they are and what it means and what energies it is, what does it mean physically, mentally, emotionally, and how we can work with it and how we can, connect to ourselves, nourish ourselves through it. So let's come to sitting on the mat. So let's sit down and we'll find the meridians first of all. So the stomach meridian, let's start with that one. So it comes down through the face, starts underneath the eyes and comes down through the collarbones, down the side of the chest, or down the center of the chest actually, the side of the abdomen. And then we'll pick it up on the front of the thighs. So if you feel those points of your hip bones and rub down the center of the thighs, we're stimulating the stomach meridian. And then round the outside of the knees and then down the outside of the shins. And then across we can just gently rub across the top of the feet and down to the second toe. So that's the stomach meridian. And then the spleen comes from the big toe and goes up the side of the foot, up to the knobbly bit, your ankle bone, your medial malleolus, and then finding the shin bone on the inside of the leg, and just behind it there's a kind of channel where your thumb will just fit very nicely, and you can maybe just gently press all the way up that channel to just below the knee, and then rub kind of just inside the thigh. And then the spleen kind of does a similar thing. It goes up the side of the abdomen and kind of ends up just below the armpits. So for yin yoga poses to stimulate those meridians, we want to be compressing and stretching and twisting those areas. So that's what the yin yoga, the poses that I've chosen tonight, are aiming at doing that. And then I like to work with pressure points. So we'll start with one for the spleen. So this is spleen 6, and this is not a good pressure point if you're pregnant or if you're trying to get pregnant. So if that applies to you, then you can choose a different one, which I'll give you kidney 1, which is a nice energizing pose. So if you scrunch up your toes, a hole appears, well not a hole, but a dent appears just below the ball of your foot, and that's your kidney 1, and that's a nice energizing pose. So if you're pregnant or trying to get pregnant, then you can choose that one instead. If that doesn't apply to you, then spleen 6, if you do one hand's width up from that knobbly ankle bone on the inside, and then just go underneath the bone there, we can do both legs at the same time. And it's quite often a bit tender, it often is in me, and that's your spleen 6. It's a really nice pressure point. I use it a lot actually. It brings all the energy down. So if you find yourself with thoughts whirring through your mind and they won't stop, or just high energy, kind of stressy, this pressure point can really bring you down. It's good for insomnia, and it's good for just general relaxation and an antidote for stress. Calms everything down. I can actually feel myself going as I press it. So I use this one a lot. And actually that kidney one, I use that one a lot as well. That's a really nice energizing. If you feel yourself, that kind of afternoon feeling where you just feel yourself nodding off, I always press my kidney one. And then the stomach one that I wanted to do is stomach 36. So if you go to kind of the center of your kneecap, underneath the center of the bottom of your kneecap, and go out 1 inch and down 3 inches. And you feel it's kind of between those two bones that you get well, there's mine, yeah, between the two bones in the shin, and it normally feels a bit tender. And you can just kind of massage into there. And that's a good point for the lower abdomen. So good for if you feel like heaviness or, you know, bloating in the abdomen, and also good for the parasympathetic nervous system. So again, it's a good one for calming us down if you need calming down. Okay, so that's the location of the meridians and a couple of pressure points to work on them. So let's get going now with the poses. And the first pose I'd like to do is I put a little pile here of props. You don't have to have them all, but if you do, then it can be good. So a bolster, a block, a couple of bricks and a blanket, and maybe a belt. Like I say, you don't really need them, but it might make things more comfortable. And we'll start with hero's pose. So getting a block, or maybe a folded up blanket, or maybe your bolster, and putting it in between your feet and then sitting back. So this one is stretching the front of the thigh a little bit and the front of the shin. So that's our stomach meridian. And try to be sitting so that you're just slightly on the front of your sit bones, so the spine can be in neutral with the shoulders above the hips. And you can rest your hands on your legs. I'm just going to put my clock on. So we will stay for 4 minutes in this pose. So making sure you're comfortable, making sure whatever edge it is you're feeling is viable for 4 minutes. And you can choose to close your eyes if you like to close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open if you prefer to keep the eyes open. And just really take some time to arrive in your body. So I like this sensation of dropping into the body, of flowing the awareness all the way down the arms to the fingertips, flowing the awareness down through the torso, and all the way down the legs to the tips of your toes. So you really fully inhabit your body. And I don't know about you, but it's quite a common pattern, and I know I find myself doing it at times, is to live up in the head, which normally isn't that great a place to be. And to be in the body feels much better. And that is one of the main aspects of stomach and spleen energy, is feeling comfortable in your own skin, feeling comfortable in your own body. Just allowing yourself to really sit down in your body. Maybe you can feel the breath. And maybe as you tune into the breath, it might come a little bit slower and a little bit deeper. But just allowing that process to unfold. It's not something you have to do or make happen. It's just something you can watch. And just noticing, can you soften the shoulders maybe a little bit more? Maybe the muscles in the face and the tongue. Maybe the belly. Maybe you can let yourself have a little Buddha belly. Nice and soft. And we stay for 1 more minute. So I'll leave you in silence for 1 more minute. Okay, so coming out slowly, so you can maybe lift yourself up onto your knees and move your block out of the way. And come to sitting. And we always have in yin a bit of space in between the poses to allow the pose to settle in. I like to think of it like one of those globes that has glitter inside, like you've shaken it up and all the glitter's up in the air. And in the space in between the poses, you let the glitter settle back down again. So you can choose to be in stillness, or you can choose to be in movement. So my suggestion for this, if you want to move, is to bring your hands behind you and lean back and windscreen wiper the legs just nice and gently from side to side. Okay, so the next pose is butterfly. So we bring the soles of the feet together and have quite a long distance between your hips and your feet, at least 2 hands width between your hips and your feet. You might want to bring it a bit further or a bit closer depending on your body. And if it's comfortable for you to sit up on something, you might want to raise the hips, or you might want to support your knees, so maybe a rolled up blanket or a bolster underneath the knees. And then we're going to fold forward, so again you might want something to lean on as you come forward. So if you have the bolster, then put that there just in case. And put the hands on the legs, lean forwards and think about lengthening through the front of the body. So you keep the spine nice and neutral as you go down. And I like to make the movements in and out of the poses a little bit organic, a little bit of a flow. So you can ease yourself from side to side. Maybe pulse in and come out a few times. You can round and lengthen. Just kind of easing gently through the fascia, through the muscles, to find the place where you want to stay. And again, making sure that the edge you choose is a nice, soft, gentle edge. And then you can use your bolster in several different ways. You can rest your forehead on the end like this. Or you can put your bolster sideways and rest your forearms on it and come forwards like that. You might use a mixture of blocks and bolsters to rest. So finding something that works for you, where you have got something happening. We do want the edge, but that edge is really nice, really soft and nurturing. And we'll stay for 4 more minutes. So the stomach and the spleen energy, like I said, it's highlighted in late summer. And things that can put it out of balance are overthinking things, over-analysing things, and kind of having a huge, great big long to-do list that you just kind of stress about. So I think I can put my hand up to some of the things on that list. So I guess the suggestion is, to contemplate, that the role of that in your life. Like, are there times where you overthink things? Are there times where you overanalyze things? Have you got this busy mind? And are there things that you can do that can quieten the mind down? Things like walking in nature, maybe going for a swim, maybe talking to a good friend, maybe doing your yoga practice, all these things that work, but quite often when you're in that, thing where it's happening, it's the last thing that you give yourself. and really making that promise to yourself that when you start to find yourself in the overthinking, over-analysing, that you'll do something to break the pattern. And I'm sure you know what works for you, so I don't need to tell you that. But just that suggestion at this time of year, it can be something to hold that question. So just, again, sinking down into the body. Checking in with your breath. Just noticing if there's something you can relax a little bit more. Maybe your belly, maybe your jaw. Just letting go of anything that's holding on. And if you have thoughts in your head right now, maybe seeing if you can just step back a little bit from the thoughts and watch them rather than being stuck inside them. Stepping back a little bit is the first kind of part of the journey of stepping away from the thoughts. And we have one more minute, so I'll leave you in silence for one more minute to enjoy your butterfly. Okay, and then starting to come out of the pose. Again, you can make your journey out of the pose a little bit soft and rounded, spirals. Put your things to one side. And if you'd prefer to stay in stillness in between poses, find a comfortable place to be still. If you'd like some movement, maybe straightening the legs out and rocking your feet from side to side. You rotate the legs. Okay, so moving on, we'll come into all fours for this next pose. So if you have a blanket to put under your knees for the all fours, that is a nice option. And let's do some cat-cow first of all. So arching the back and then rounding the back, lifting the sit bones, lifting the chest, and then pressing down through the hands, through the shins. Okay, and then coming into stillness, and we come into what's called quarter dog. So you can bring let's bring the right elbow underneath the right shoulder with the forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat. And then the left arm reaches forwards and bring your forehead down, either to rest on your arm or the floor, or maybe you place a block there. If you would rather come into child's pose and reach one arm forwards, then that's an option as well. So this is accessing the area down the side of the body, underneath the armpit and around the shoulder. And we'll stay for 2 minutes. So another way that we can put our stomach and spleen energy out of balance is through eating sugar. And again, I put my hand up to this one. I have had an interesting relationship with sugar for most of my life. And, you know, a little bit of sugar is fine, and especially natural sugars are, of course, fine. But, you know, sugar can be very disruptive on lots of levels. And so, yeah, just being aware that lots of sugar can upset those energies. And just a little personal experience that I've had recently. I recently cut out sugar completely, and I found that my deep sleep doubled, which has had a huge knock-on effect on so many things. So, well, I wasn't really expecting it to affect my sleep so strongly, but deep sleep was something that I often didn't have enough of before. Since I've cut out sugar, I have more than enough every night. So that was my own personal experience. So we stay for just less than 1 more minute. Okay, so coming up slowly, coming back onto all fours and back into our cat-cow movement. Or maybe you'd rather do a circle for the rib cage. And back the other way. And then we do the second side. So now it is your left elbow that comes underneath the left shoulder, forearm parallel to the front edge of the mat. The right arm reaches forwards, and bring your forehead down somewhere to rest comfortably. And again, we will stay for 2 minutes. So the stomach and the spleen are about digestion. There's a great surprise there. So physically digesting the food and taking nourishment from the food, but also digesting mentally and emotionally. So our ability to digest emotions and experiences and information that comes our way, and our ability to take what's nourishing. So that was in the introduction to this class when I was talking about making your yoga practice nourishing and positive and, you know, healing for yourself. That would be stomach and spleen energy as well. So our ability to take what's good, to take what serves us, to take what supports us, and let everything else be digested out of our system. So that would be another aspect of stomach and spleen energy. And again, we have slightly less than 1 more minute left. Okay, so coming up slowly, and maybe let's rotate the shoulders in all fours. So sliding the shoulder blades up and then squeezing them together, sliding them down and making circles on the rib cage with the shoulder blades. And changing direction. Okay. And then we come from here into child's pose. So bringing the hips towards the heels and bringing your forehead towards the floor. So if you need or want something in between your heels and your hips, then that can be an option to put a bolster or a rolled up mat in between. And maybe you want a brick under your forehead. So grabbing whatever you need to get yourself comfortable in your child's pose. And we'll stay for 4 minutes again. So basically I've already talked about the signs that our stomach and spleen can be out of balance, the overthinking, the overanalyzing, the list of things to do that never gets finished, lots of things started and not really finished. So what are the signs that the stomach and spleen are in balance? So feeling, like I said, comfortable in your body, feeling at home in your body, feeling at home and comfortable in your life as well. And stomach and spleen are about the earth element. So it's about feeling grounded, about feeling that your feet are on the ground, you know, you're supported, you feel the support that's there, you feel that, you know, you can walk through your life. And, you know, that's that feeling grounded, feeling earthy, feeling connected to your body is very much stomach and spleen energy. But as well as feeling grounded is feeling light and energized. So if you have a really heavy, lethargic feeling, that can be stomach and spleen. So the stomach and spleen energy makes us feel grounded but light and at home in our bodies, at home in our lives. So yeah, really important energies. So I will leave you in silence for the rest of this pose. So we have 1.5 more minutes. Okay, so coming up slowly, and we'll come into dragon for our next pose. So if you have a couple of bricks or blocks, you might want to bring them forwards, and we'll step the right foot forwards first of all, and we'll go for the knee above ankle alignment, and coming coming forwards as far as it's comfortable for you. And we'll stay in this one for 2 minutes as well. So if you're more on the flexible, hypermobile end of the spectrum, you might want to keep some engagement as you do this pose. So what that would mean is if you take the front foot and the back shin and draw them towards each other, it engages the muscles in the hips, and then you don't just hang out in your ligaments. So if that's you, finding some engagement. If that isn't you, then you can completely relax and ease into the pose. But like I said, everybody needs something different in the poses. Sometimes you'll need more engagement in the body, sometimes less engagement. And it just very much depends on your body type. So yeah, just finding what works for you is so important. And we have 1 more minute here. If you'd like to go lower down for the next minute, you can move your foot a little bit out to the side and maybe come down to rest your forearms on the bricks or on the floor, something like that. If it feels better for you to stay higher up, then stay higher up. Again, giving your body what it needs, what it wants. We have half a minute left. Okay, so easing out of the pose, maybe coming back, lifting up those front toes and taking yourself into a low pyramid, just easing into the back of the leg for a moment. And then we'll change sides. So bringing the left foot forwards, walking your bricks forwards if you're using them, and easing into the other side. And again, 2 minutes. So another thing about the stomach and the spleen is they are energized by the color yellow. So if color therapy is meaningful for you, you can wear yellow clothes, or get something yellow, maybe yellow flowers in your space, and use color to connect to those energies. And smelling nice fragrances is very connected to stomach and spleen. So again, fragrances that you love, that are meaningful for you. You can use flowers or essential oils or dried herbs to bring fragrances. And also singing. So sing. If you like to sing in the shower, put the radio on, put your favourite tunes on in the car when you're on your own or whatever, and sing. It can be surprisingly therapeutic. So about just a bit more than half a minute left, so let's go lower down. So I got carried away talking about singing. So coming down, if you want to, onto your forearms. Okay, and when you're ready, coming back up. And again, maybe shifting the hips back, walking the bricks back, letting the front toes come up so you ease into the back of that leg. And then we'll come from here into Sphinx. So you might want your bricks, you might want your bolster, so have them handy in case you want them. But let's just lie on the bellies for a moment. You can rest your forehead on your hands and wiggle your hips from side to side, just as a counter pose to the dragon. Okay, so moving now into Sphinx. So roughly elbows underneath shoulders. And this is one of those poses where some people can be completely relaxed and feel fine. Some people feel too much compression in the lower back if they completely relax. So if that's your case, if you feel too much compression in the lower back, then you can press down through the arms and press down through the pubic bone. So you have to be a bit engaged in the musculature to find a comfortable place in this pose. So choosing if you can completely relax or if you have to be a bit engaged in your Sphinx. And we will stay for 3 more minutes. So various options as well. If you want to be a very relaxed Sphinx, you can take your bolster and put it underneath your arms and do something like this. This is my personal favourite. If you want to be a more intense Sphinx, you can put the bricks under your forearms and come a bit higher, and that will give a deeper back bend. So choosing where you want to be. And just noticing where you are engaged, where you need to be engaged, and just seeing if you can allow everything else around that to soften. This yin doing of yielding, melting, allowing. Just turning up in the shape and then letting everything drop. And we stay for 1 more minute. Okay, so coming out of the pose when you're ready, and you can choose, maybe you'd like to lie flat down, resting your forehead on your hands and wiggling your hips, or maybe you'd prefer to push yourself back into child's pose, or maybe something else. But anyway, choosing your space in between poses. Okay, and then we come into our next pose, which is cat pulling tail. So you might want a belt for this one, and you will want some cushion under your head. So just if you've got a belt, have it handy in case you do want it. And I'm just going to turn this way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to lie on my side with the bottom leg behind me and the top leg in front of me, and obviously rest my head on the cushion, and then I can reach back and take hold of the bottom foot and gently draw that foot and gently press forwards with the hips as well, actually, to find a nice stretch on the front of the thigh. So obviously if your foot is very far away from your hand, then you'll want to wrap the belt around the foot to hold it. But you might even find that more comfortable anyway. So lying on your side with your legs in a comfortable position, kind of a zigzag position with the bottom leg gently being drawn up towards the hips. And again, we'll stay for 2 minutes on each side. So we are just gently stretching the muscles on the front of the thighs, so the stomach meridian is being gently kind of pulled on in this pose. That's 1 more minute. Okay, releasing your leg and rolling over onto your back and hugging the knees to the chest. So you can stay in stillness, or you can rock from side to side. And as always, if you'd rather do something else, you can do what your body is asking you to do. Okay, and then let's roll over to the other side. So the top leg goes to the front and the bottom leg bends up, finding a comfortable place for you to be. And again, we stay for 2 minutes. half a minute more. Okay, and then releasing the pose, and again rolling over onto your back. Have the knees bent up and the feet flat down on the floor, and windscreen wiper your knees from side to side, so just easing in and out, and a gentle twist. Okay, and then we'll come into our final pose before we go into Shavasana, which is a supported half bridge, and you can use a bolster, in which case you would lift up your hips and place the bolster underneath the hips. So we want whatever support you're using to be underneath the hips, not the spine. So the spine is free and it's the hips, roughly where your waistband is, that's supported. So you can use a bolster, or if you've got bricks, my bricks have gone, you can put a brick, so you can put it on the lowest setting or the medium setting. I would suggest not the highest setting. I would suggest that would put too much pressure on the sacrum. So if you want it higher than that, then I would use 2 bricks together to get the extra height. And then the bricks go under the sacrum, under the waistband. So we're in a supported half bridge, and you might like to straighten your legs out and do it like this. Personally, this doesn't work for my body. I feel too much sensation in my lower back if I do this, so I prefer to keep my feet down on the floor. But like I said, everybody's body is different, so maybe it feels really good for you to straighten the legs out. So we'll hold this pose for 4 minutes. And 1 more minute. support away and really slowly lowering your hips back down onto the floor. And then choosing if you want to maybe hug your knees in towards your chest, or maybe windscreen wiper your knees from side to side with the feet down on the floor. And then when you feel you're ready, settling yourself down into your Shavasana position. And as always, getting whatever you want, whatever you need. A bolster under the knees and a cushion under the head is always nice for whatever you feel you need in your Shavasana position. And I'll leave you to enjoy Shavasana for 4 minutes. And then if you have more time for your Shavasana, then please go ahead and stay as long as you want. But if it's time for you to come out now, you can start to move your fingers and move your toes. Maybe gently turn your head from side to side. Stretch your arms over your head, maybe yawn, maybe sigh. Maybe hug your knees in towards your chest. And then roll over onto one side. And then when you're ready, roll yourself back up to sitting. And thank yourself for taking this time for yourself. And thank you very much.